What up? I'm Jay Funkadelic, the Funkable operator. Once again, he will kill it. And tomorrow is the 50th anniversary of hip-hop. You know, I've been a hip-hop advocate since the mid and the late 80s, early 90s, mid 90s, late 90s, early 2000s and beyond. So, what I gotta say, happy 50th anniversary to the whole hip-hop culture. From the Sugar Hill Gang, Kool Herc, Grandmaster Flash, the Zulu Nation, Prince Whipper Whip, Joe Gonzo, Grandmaster Cavs, MC Shyrock, the Funky Four plus one more, LL Cool J, Houdini, the Juice Crew All-Stars, Bismarcky, and many others to name. Hip-hop is going to be 50 tomorrow. It all started at 1520 Cedric Avenue, 1973, after my parents got married. 50 years of my mother and father getting married, and 50 years of hip-hop. That equals me. That equals Jay Funkadelic. What you're seeing on my live. This is the brand new Funkable Operator Podcast, episode 12, the Hip Hop 50th Anniversary Edition. If you know your hip hop, you need to be on my live. You need to talk to me and know where I'm coming from the roots and the culture, the stuff we planted. DJ Kool Herc made hip-hop, but hip-hop didn't invent anything, but hip-hop reinvented everything. Words from Grandmaster Caz. Shout out to King Tim III. Shout out to Coke La Rock. Shout out to Sugar Hill Gang. Shout out to Grandmaster Flash, Melly Mel. Shout out to Grand Wizard Theodore, DJ Hollywood, the Awesome 2, Special K, Teddy Ted, Nice and Smooth. Shout out to hip hop from the West Coast, Ice-T, Too Short, NWA. You gotta respect these brothers. If it wasn't for Uncle Luke or the 2 Live Crew from Miami, there'd be no hip-hop in Miami if it wasn't for the 2 Live Crew and Uncle Luke. Rest in peace, shout out to Love Bub Starsky, Bismarcky. Rest in peace to Notorious B.I.G., Tupac, Big Pun, Jam Master Jay, DJ Scott LaRock, Miss Melody. And there's a lot that I've mentioned. Rest in peace to Freaky Ty. Rest in peace, shout out to MC Trouble. Rest in peace to one of the members from the Conscious Daughters. And rest in peace, shout out to Gangsta Boo. And rest in peace, shout out to Nipsey Hussle, Fred the Godson, and Pop Smoke. And rest in peace, shout out to P&B Rock. Hip Hop 50. Shout out to Sweet Tea. Shout out to Profile Records. Shout out to Kid and Play. Shout out to DJ Cash Money and Marvelous. Ugly People Be Quiet. Shout out to Ruben Diaz Jr., the former Bronx Borough President. Shout out to the whole Boogie Down Bronx. Shout out to Tax Crew, Fat Joe, the Terror Squad. You know, the list goes on. Shout out to Lisa Lee, the mothers of hip-hop. Shout out to Pebbly Pooh. And definitely shout out to the first one, MC Shyrock. The mothers of this hip-hop shit. The founding fathers is Africa Bambaataa, Grandmaster Flash, Kool Herc. Those are the founding fathers of hip-hop. Most of these people from the 90s doesn't understand it, but I just did a research on it, and I understand why there are the founding fathers that created this whole hip-hop industry by storm. Shout out to the white rappers that came out. Shout out to Beastie Boys. Shout out to Third Bass. Shout out to all the white rappers like Eminem, Vanilla Ice, Bubba Sparks, Riff Raff, Mac Miller. Can I say more? Machine Gun Kelly. Shout out to the Italian rappers. Me, Jay Funkadelic, Jojo Pellegrino, The Shark, G-Fella, Solis. Shout out to the members of Brooklyn's own. You know when I say Brooklyn, I mean Brooklyn's own Biggie. Shout out to the rappers from Brooklyn. Big Daddy Kane. Shout out to rappers from Chicago. Twista, Kanye West. Shout out to the rappers worldwide from Queens. The Lost Boys, Nas, Mobb Deep, and everybody else. Shout out to hip hop from the South. Little John, Yin Yang Twins, Bun B, the Ghetto Boys from Houston, Texas. Shout out to Face Mob Scarface, Willie D, and rest me. Shout out to Bushwick Bill. 3-6 Mafia. Shout out to Lord Infamous. Shout out to Project Pat. Shout out to Juicy J. And rest in peace, shout out to Gangsta Boo. Shout out to my man Spice One. Shout out to Ant Banks. Shout out to the Dangerous Crew. Shout out to E40. Shout out to True. And shout out to No Limit Records, Master P, Mia X, Silk the Shocker, and Cain and Abel, Mercedes. All the rappers I didn't mention, shout out to y'all. I've got a lot to talk about hip-hop these days because, you know, tired of being alone, always on the phone. That was I'm Real from Jennifer Lopez and Ja Rule. Who was the first rapper that wrote rhymes for the Sugar Hill Gang? It was Grandmaster Caz. Am I right or am I incorrect? Who was the first member? Who was KRS-One's social worker that took KRS-One out of the shelter system? Answer, DJ Scott LaRock, better known as Scott Sterling. Who was the first female in hip-hop history? MC Sha-Rock from the Funky Pour plus one more. Who was the first rapper that did the message? That was Grandmaster Flash and Melly Mel. And Grandmaster Melly Mel, as may say. Who was the best white rapper that was out in early 1999? Eminem. He wasn't really the first. There was a few rappers before him. It was Vanilla Ice, Beastie Boys, and Third Bass. And you had Everlast from House of Pain. They were all white rappers. The Rhyme Syndicate, West Coast Rap, Ice-T, Snoop Dogg, Ice Cube, Dub C, Mac 10, Selly Cell, MC8, Easy motherfucking E, MC Ren, Dr. Dre, DJ Yella, rest in peace to DJ Train, Iberian Prince, the DOC, CPO, the Ballad of a Menace, all those dudes. Shout out to the Boogie Down production crew, Castle D, McBoo, DJ Kenny Parker, Can Get No Darker, D Nice, Willie D, Miss Melody, Harmony, Jamalski. Can I say more? Kwame Torre. That was Boogie Out Productions. Shout out to Kara. Shout out to you, KRS-One. Channel Live. Channel Live with Hakeem. All we do is spark madism. Shout out to Black Moon. Duck Down Records. Sean Price, rest in peace. Shout out to Smith & Wesson. Cocoa Brothers. Shout out to the X-Clan. Professor X, Sugar Shaft, Brother J, Isis, Linquee. Shout out to MC Light, Audio 2, Milk D, Black Sheep, The Flavor Unit, Queen Latifah, Jungle Brothers, The Native Tongues, Q-Tip, De La Soul, Moni Love. And shout out to everybody that I did or didn't mention. Shout out to the Godfather of Soul, James Brown, Sly and the Family Stone, Alicia Myers, Palmer Funkadelic, Barry White, The Foundation, The 5 Star Steps, Anita Baker, Patti LaBelle, Lauryn Hill from the Fugees, Wyclef Jean, Pras. Shout out to the whole Staten Island, JoJo Pellegrino, Wu-Tang Clan, The RZA, The Jizza, Old Dirty Bastard, Raekwon, Inspector Deck, Method Man, Ghostface Killer, The RZA, Master Killer, 12 O'Clock, Blue Raspberry, Shaheem, Killer Priest. Okay? And shout out to Capadonna, The Pillage. Shout out to my man Afro. Shout out to the Jam Master J Foundation, Venus Mizell, and the Afros with the Hollis Crew and Run DMC. And rest in peace, shout out to Jam Master J. And shout out to my man Cool T from the Afros. Shout out to Yo-Yo, MC Peaches, Mishi B. Shout out to the Kings of Swing. Shout out to Apache, the one that did Gangsta Bitch. Shout out to the Hip Hop Array Brothers, Northern by Nature. Shout out to King Just, Remedy. Shout out to all these people. Shout out to the whole hip hop culture by storm. Shout out to Just Ice. Shout out to Cool DJ Red Alert. Shout out to DJ Chuck Chill Out. Rest in peace, DJ K Slay. Super Rocket Mr. Magic. What else? Shout out to DJ Breakout from the Funky Four. Shout out to Glamorous from the Juice Crew All Stars. Shout out to Big Daddy Kane. Rest in peace, Bismarck E. Rest in peace to Granddaddy U, Roxanne Shante, Craig G, Master Ace, Fly Tie. I love New York artists. I'm saying them right now, brother. Sit back and chillax, man. Shout out to Steezo. Shout out to Awesome Dre. Shout out to 3 Times Dope. Shout out to Kid and Play. Shout out to Salt and Pepper. Shout out to Finesse and Sequence. Shout out to Lord Finesse, DJ Mike Smooth. And shout out to DJ Charlie Chase, Tony Touch, Kid Capri. Right. Shout out to the Grand Wizard. Shout out to Slick Rick the Ruler, Vance Wright. Shout out to all these people, dead or alive. Shout out to the Mrs. Wallace Foundation. Shout out to everybody, Junior Mafia, Lil Caesar, Lil Kim, Black Rob, DMX, Swizzy, Eve, Drag On. Shout out to Kurt McGruff. Shout out to Deltron 3030. Shout out to Black Hippie. Shout out to my own hip hop underground artists, Outer Space, Nems. Okay? Shout out to Original Flavor. Shout out to Jay-Z and the whole Rockefeller camp. Shout out to Memphis Bleak. Shout out to Freeway. Shout out to Young Guns. Shout out to Capone and Noriega, Mussolini and Mays. Shout out to Cameron. Shout out to Jim Jones. Shout out to Joel Santana. Shout out to Heat Freaky Zeke. Shout out to Hell Rel. And shout out to my homegirl, former Dipset member, Jaja. Whatever you want to call it. Shout out to Emil. Shout out to hip hop from New Zealand. Shut the fuck up. Shout out to hip hop in outer space. Shout out to the aliens that know how to rap. Shout out to T.I. Shout out to Young Jeezy. Shout out to all the people. Shout out to Killer Mike. Shout out to Big Boy, Outkast, Andre 3000. Shout out to the hip hop from Atlanta. Shout out to Criss Cross. You know, I know them from not Atlanta, but shout out to my man anyway. Shout out goes out to Ludacris, I-20, Shawana, all the rappers that did their thing with the famous people in hip-hop life and accept everything and respect the culture. There's no beef. Shout out to Ultramatic MCs. Rest in peace to Tim Dog. Fuck Compton. Shout out to Twitty Berg Loke. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to Cardi B. Shout out to Lil Wayne. Shout out to Bobby Brown. Shout out to Megan Thee Stallion. Shout out to Drake. Shout out to French Montana. Shout out to the baby, Lil Baby. Shout out to Scarlett. Shout out to the Locks. Shout out to the Yonkers rappers. DMX. Jadakiss. Chic Luch. Shout out to Styles Peter Ghost. Shout out to Snipe Light. Shout out to Tony Moxberg. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to Hip Hop in Miami. DJ Khaled. We the best music. Shout out to Future. Shout out to Nicki Minaj. Shout out to a lot of people that represented me since day one. Shout out to all the people that I didn't mention. Y'all way up there. Y'all are way up there. Shout out to Ice Spice. Shout out to Glorilla. Shout out to everybody who I didn't mention, what I'm thinking I'm going to mention about. Shout out to my little girl Lola Brooke. And shout out to the unsigned rappers. Shout out to the new upcoming rappers. Shout out to the founding fathers of these rappers that came out before us and after us. Shout out for everybody that paid the way for hip-hop. Shout out to my boy Sal Apatello. Shout out to Mulatto. Shout out to DJ Drama. Shout out to the Gangsta Grills production. Shout out to people that made hip-hop like a game changer. And no shout out goes to 6ix9ine. I never liked him. He ain't part of the culture. And shout out to my boy, Iron Mike Tyson. Yeah, I shout out hip-hop artists at first. I did that. And I love it.